Some people are misunderstood because they hide who they are. Sigma empaths are misunderstood because they see too much. They walk through the world with a calm presence that confuses people, soft yet unreadable, empathetic yet detached. They feel everything yet show almost nothing. To some, that makes them mysterious, to others intimidating, but to those who truly know, it's strength disguised as silence. Sigma empaths don't chase attention, they absorb energy, they read the unspoken. And when they sense dishonesty, their entire spirit withdraws without a single word. That's what people can't handle, the quiet clarity that exposes everything false. They're not cold, they're conscious. They feel your pain, but won't drown in it. They'll help you heal, but not at the cost of their own peace. That's why the world misunderstands them, because they move with emotional intelligence that most can't decode. They're not detached, they're aware. They don't distance themselves out of ego, they do it to survive. If you've ever been misunderstood for being too deep, too quiet, too real, then you already know what it means to live with this kind of awareness. Subscribe to Brainy Empath, where we dive into the psychology, depth, and energy of those who feel the world but refuse to be broken by it. And if you're still here, comment "still feeling, still strong" below, so I'll know you're one of the rare souls who understands that empathy isn't weakness, it's power with boundaries. They feel everything deeply but express very little, and people mistake that control for coldness. A Sigma empath feels the world in high definition, every tone, every hesitation, every unspoken shift in energy. They register it all, but instead of reacting, they internalize. While others explode, they analyze. That's their quiet strength. Emotional control so refined it looks like detachment. People see the calm surface and assume nothing's happening underneath. They're wrong. There's a storm inside, but it's a storm guided by discipline, not chaos. They feel your pain before you speak it. They notice the crack in your smile, the weight behind your words. Yet, they don't rush to fix it. They've learned that not every emotion needs rescuing, not every wound wants healing. Their silence isn't indifference, it's respect for your process, for their boundaries. But to those who live loudly, this calm becomes unsettling. How can someone care so deeply and yet remain so composed? The answer is simple, because feeling deeply and reacting impulsively are two different things. Sigma empaths mastered that separation. It wasn't always this way. There was a time they gave everything, emotions, energy, understanding, until they burned out. They learned the hard way that emotional generosity without restraint becomes self-destruction. So now they manage what they feel. They hold their emotions like sacred fire, powerful, dangerous, and never wasted on the wrong people. This restraint makes others uncomfortable. They call it coldness, when in truth, it's maturity. They call it emotional distance, when it's really self-preservation. The Sigma empath isn't trying to seem mysterious. They simply know that the more you reveal, the easier you are to manipulate. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's awareness. They don't talk about everything they feel because they don't need to be understood by everyone, and that's what makes them magnetic. Their calm carries depth. Their stillness has gravity. People sense it without knowing why. In a world addicted to oversharing, their control feels like rebellion. They don't perform emotions to be seen, they contain them to stay free. And that's why they're misunderstood. Because when you're built from depth and discipline, shallow minds will always call your calm cold. Their empathy is intuitive, not performative. They sense emotions others can't even name. A Sigma empath doesn't need words to understand what's happening beneath the surface. They feel it instantly, accurately, almost uncomfortably. While most people listen to what's said, they tune into what's not said. The pauses, the hesitation, the micro shift in energy that gives everything away. It's not something they try to do, it's who they are. Their empathy is instinctual, not learned. It's the language of emotion, spoken fluently without translation. They can walk into a room and feel its atmosphere like temperature, the tension, the sadness, the pretense. They pick it up in seconds, long before anyone smiles or speaks. It's not magic, it's awareness on a level most people avoid. And that's what makes them misunderstood. While others rely on logic, Sigma empaths rely on energy. They read emotion like data, yet they never advertise it. Their empathy is quiet, precise, surgical, and deeply human. What makes it powerful is its purity. They don't use empathy to impress or manipulate. They don't say, "I understand," just to sound kind. When they sense pain, it hits their core. When they sense lies, it echoes in their chest. It's not a trick, it's a burden. Because feeling everything means carrying what others try to hide. Anxiety, guilt, loneliness, deceit. They pick it up like static. And even when they try to block it, it finds a way in. This is why Sigma empaths often seem distant. It's not because they don't care, it's because they care too much. They need distance to breathe, to separate what's theirs from what's not. People call them mysterious, when in reality, they're managing emotional overload in real time. Their empathy is a radar. It spots authenticity instantly and exposes falsehoods without confrontation. They can sense fear disguised as arrogance, affection masked as indifference, or envy hidden behind fake praise. That intuition makes them powerful, but also isolated, because once you can feel everything, it becomes impossible to unsee the truth. The world celebrates loud empathy, the kind that posts, preaches, and performs. But the Sigma empath doesn't need an audience. Their empathy isn't a show, it's a mirror. And when they look at you, they don't just see who you are, they see who you're trying not to be. They connect intensely, yet detach instantly when the energy turns false. A Sigma empath doesn't bond halfway. When they connect, they dive in completely, mind, heart, and intuition aligned. Their energy wraps around you in a way that feels rare, genuine, grounding. You feel seen, not in the way people pretend to listen, but in the way someone reads your soul and still stays. That's the power of their presence. They don't just hear your words, they feel your emotional frequency, but the same depth that allows them to connect is what also allows them to disconnect instantly, completely, and without warning. Because while they feel deeply, they also sense dishonesty immediately. The moment your energy shifts, the moment your words no longer match your intentions, something inside them goes still. Their mind doesn't argue, their intuition already knows. They might smile, stay polite, even keep listening, but emotionally, they're gone. And once a Sigma empath detaches, there's no returning to how things were. You can't rebuild trust with someone who felt your truth fall apart in real time. People often mistake this detachment for coldness. They think the Sigma empath is heartless for walking away so easily. But what they don't see is the quiet war that happened before that decision, the doubts, the internal push and pull, the patience they extended long past the point of peace. When they finally cut ties, it's not out of impulse, it's self-protection. They've learned that staying connected to false energy is self-betrayal. Their ability to detach is emotional intelligence at its peak. It's not avoidance, it's awareness. They understand that loyalty means nothing when it's one-sided, that care without authenticity becomes manipulation. So they walk away without hate, without revenge, just distant. The irony is, people feel their absence louder than their presence. That silence carries a message. You had access to something real and you lost it. Their emotional withdrawal is final because it's not about anger, it's about peace. Sigma empaths don't need closure from others, their intuition already gave it. They connect deeply because they crave truth, but once the energy turns false, their detachment isn't cruelty, it's the most loving thing they can do for themselves. They protect their peace by observing instead of reacting, and that silence confuses people. A Sigma empath's greatest strength isn't in how they speak, it's in how they see. When chaos erupts, they don't rush to defend, argue, or prove a point. They go quiet, not because they don't care, but because they've learned that silence reveals more than noise ever could. Their stillness is a test, and most people fail it. The louder someone becomes, the clearer their truth shows. The Sigma empath doesn't need to fight to understand. Observation gives them everything they need to understand, They stand in rooms full of tension and read energy like a book. They notice who avoids eye contact, who's performing for attention, who's speaking from insecurity, and yet they stay calm because they've realized reacting gives away power. Every outburst, every emotional slip, it's energy wasted on those who feed on attention. So instead, they sit back and watch. Their silence isn't submission, it's strategy. That silence unnerves people. Manipulators can't control someone who doesn't react. Liars can't twist words that were never said. Fake confidence begins to crumble when met with calm awareness. The Sigma Empath's peace is their shield. It disarms the emotional chaos that tries to pull them in. People who thrive on drama find them impossible to provoke, and that's what confuses them the most. How can someone stay so composed when others are losing control? It's because they've mastered emotional detachment without losing compassion. They don't need to prove who they are. Truth proves itself over time. By observing instead of reacting, they gain perspective, power, and clarity. They see patterns others overlook. They catch motives before they unfold. And by staying silent, they protect their inner world from unnecessary disturbance. To those who misunderstand them, their calm feels intimidating. Their quiet feels distant. But to those who truly know them, that silence is sacred. It's the space where wisdom is born, where peace replaces pride, where awareness becomes armor. The Sigma Empath doesn't stay silent because they're weak. They stay silent because they see too much. And once you learn to see everything, you realize not everything deserves your reaction. Their peace isn't passive, it's power mastered in stillness. They heal others naturally, but few ever notice how much it drains them. A Sigma Empath carries light, but that light often burns them first. They have a way of making people feel safe, seen, and understood without trying. Their presence alone feels healing. Broken souls find comfort around them, not because they offer solutions, but because they listen without judgment. They absorb pain like sponges, easing the emotional weight others can't carry. Yet, beneath that calm surface, they're silently taking on what isn't theirs: sadness, anxiety, tension, and transforming it into understanding. It's a beautiful gift and a dangerous one. They were never trained to heal, they just always did. Since childhood, they've been the emotional anchor for others, the friend who listens, the partner who fixes, the stranger who cares. But healing isn't free. Every time they help someone release pain, a part of that energy sticks to them. Every conversation that leaves others lighter leaves them heavier. Still, they never complain. They smile through the fatigue, convince themselves they can handle it, until one day their body starts whispering what their soul has been screaming: you can't pour from an empty cup. Few ever notice. People assume their strength is endless. They come for advice, comfort, understanding, but rarely ask how the empath is doing. And the Sigma Empath won't say it. They hate burdening others. They'll retreat quietly instead, recharge alone, and come back as if nothing happened. That's their cycle. Give, drain, disappear, heal, repeat. But eventually they learn something powerful. Healing doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. True empathy doesn't mean absorbing. It means understanding without drowning. They start setting boundaries, protecting their energy like it's sacred, because it is. They realize that constantly fixing others stops people from fixing themselves. The world may never notice how much their kindness costs, but that's okay. The Sigma Empath doesn't heal for recognition. They heal because it's who they are. But now they heal smarter, with distance, with awareness, with balance. Their compassion remains, but it's no longer self-destructive. They've learned that saving others isn't strength, saving yourself while caring deeply is. And that shift from endless giver to balanced empath is where their true power begins. They value truth over comfort, even when it makes others uncomfortable. A Sigma Empath has no interest in illusions. They crave authenticity even when it's painful. While most people build relationships on politeness and half-truths, the Sigma Empath seeks depth, the kind that requires honesty, vulnerability, and courage. They'd rather confront an uncomfortable truth than live peacefully inside a lie. That's what makes them powerful and misunderstood, because truth doesn't always sound kind and authenticity doesn't always feel safe. They don't expose people, but they see them. They notice when your words don't match your energy, when your laughter hides pain, or when your kindness is strategic. They won't call you out, they'll simply adjust their distance. Their silence becomes their honesty. They won't argue to prove the truth, they'll let time do it. Because they understand that real clarity doesn't come from confrontation, it comes from observation. People often say they want honesty, but what they really want is comfort. The Sigma Empath doesn't play that game. They tell the truth gently, but directly. They don't sugarcoat feelings, they don't flatter to gain approval. Their words might sting, but they heal because they're rooted in sincerity, not ego. That's why some love them deeply and others can't stand them. They reflect reality too clearly. When you talk to a Sigma empath, you feel exposed not because they judge you, but because they understand you. And that's terrifying for people who hide behind facades. Their calm presence acts like a mirror, showing people what they've avoided in themselves. That's why their honesty can feel uncomfortable. It awakens self-awareness. But here's the paradox. They don't use truth as a weapon. They use it as light. They know it can burn, but it also frees. They understand that lies might soothe in the moment, but truth sustains peace in the long run, so they choose truth. Always. Even if it means losing people, even if it means walking alone. For the Sigma empath, comfort without truth is just a slow kind of suffocation. They'd rather breathe the cold air of honesty than drown in the warmth of deception. And that's what makes them rare. They don't speak to please the world, they speak to free it. They walk alone not because they're antisocial, but because few can match their emotional depth. Solitude isn't loneliness for a Sigma empath, it's home. The world calls them distant, detached, or mysterious, but what they really are is selective. Their energy is rare, their perception deep, and their soul too aware to blend into shallow crowds. They crave connection, but not the surface kind, not the talk about the weather kind. They crave the kind of connection that feels like truth, stillness, and understanding. But in a world obsessed with noise, depth becomes isolation. They've tried to fit in. They've tried to tone down their intensity, to be normal, to smile through conversations that feel hollow. But every time something inside them withdraws, they can't fake interest in things that don't feed the soul. They can't force laughter in rooms that feel emotionally empty. And that's why they often walk alone. Not because they don't want people, but because the right people are rare. Most mistake their independence for arrogance. They're quiet for sadness, but solitude isn't a punishment, it's a filter. It keeps the wrong energy out. In silence, they recharge. In solitude, they remember who they are. They reflect, create, feel, and heal. They understand things others miss, not because they're better, but because they listen to the world, to their instincts, to what others drown out with distraction. They value quality over company. A single genuine connection means more to them than 1,000 shallow interactions. They'd rather wait years for the right energy than spend a moment with someone who drains them. Their peace isn't negotiable anymore. People sometimes ask, why do you isolate yourself? The truth is, they don't isolate, they elevate. They rise above emotional chaos to protect their frequency. And when they do find someone who matches their depth, that connection feels electric, honest, effortless, rare. Walking alone doesn't make them lonely. It makes them powerful because the Sigma empath knows that solitude sharpens intuition and filters truth. While others chase belonging, they choose alignment. They don't fear being alone. They fear losing themselves in the wrong crowd. Their silence isn't empty, it's sacred. Their solitude isn't distance, it's discernment. And that's why they walk alone, not because they can't connect, but because their soul won't settle for less than real. They're both light and shadow, kind enough to understand you, but strong enough to walk away. A Sigma empath is not just gentle energy and healing presence. They're balance personified. They carry both warmth and fire, empathy and detachment, softness and steel. People often mistake their kindness for weakness, thinking their compassion means they'll stay no matter what. But the Sigma empath has a line, invisible, unspoken, and absolute. Once it's crossed, their energy shifts. The same person who once held your chaos will now hold their silence. Not out of anger, but out of strength. They understand pain, that's why they forgive so easily. But understanding doesn't mean tolerating. They can see the story behind someone's brokenness, yet still recognize when it's not their job to fix it. Their empathy allows them to love deeply, but their wisdom teaches them to let go quietly. That's what makes them powerful. Their ability to hold space for others while never abandoning themselves again. People rarely expect their departure. They assume their patience is infinite, but the Sigma empath's stillness isn't endless endurance, it's observation. They give you the benefit of the doubt, not unlimited access. They'll try, they'll listen, they'll forgive, until they no longer feel truth in the connection. Then, without warning, they vanish. No closure, no explanation, just absence. And that absence hits harder than anger ever could. They are light, healing, guiding, soft, but they are also shadow, protective, discerning, untouchable. Their kindness can soothe the darkest hearts, but their boundaries can freeze manipulation in its tracks. That duality confuses people. One moment they're your safe place, the next they're gone, leaving behind the silence of realization. Because when the Sigma empath walks away, they don't just remove their presence, they remove the reflection of yourself that they once gave you. They've learned that being light doesn't mean being available to everyone. True strength is knowing when to shine and when to retreat. They carry both empathy and distance, like art. Never too much of one, never without the other. And that's the paradox. They understand you more deeply than anyone else ever could, and still, they'll walk away when your energy no longer respects theirs. Because a Sigma empath's love is not endless, it's earned. Their compassion is infinite, but their tolerance is not. They are both healing and consequence, the calm and the storm. When you've walked through life feeling everything too deeply, you eventually learn that peace isn't found in people, it's found in protection. Sigma empaths understand that balance. They can love with fire and leave with silence. That's what makes them unforgettable. If this spoke to you, if you've ever loved deeply, healed others quietly, and walked away stronger, you're not alone. You're part of the rare few who feel the world differently. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to Brainy Empath, where we dive into the hidden power, emotional depth, and silent strength of souls like yours. And if you've watched until now, comment calm power below so I'll know you're one of the few who understands that real strength isn't loud, it's balanced.